Called to order. And before we do the roll call, Mrs. Campisi, let me announce that we have a new member to the trust, Mrs. Shelley Perkins, an attorney, and has no clients in our trust right now. So there's no conflict. Do you hear that, counselor? Got it. Okay. Anyway, welcome. You'll enjoy this. There'll be good days and bad days, but we all survive. So with that, Mrs. Campisi, go ahead and call the roll, please. Present.
Present.
Jim Anderson for Tommy Johnson.
Present. Present.
Present.
That's it. Thank you, Mrs. Campisi. Would you all join me in our, I almost said national anthem again. No, it's the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. Salute. Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, all of you. Public comments. Are there any, Mrs. Campisi? The answer is no. So we're going to move forward with the approval of the minutes from our March 11th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Any comments or suggestions? Is there a second? Thank you. Mrs. Campisi, please call the roll. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Item 2 is the report from our Chief Executive Officer, Mrs. Garner. Would you please come forward? We're anxious to hear this report. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome, Mrs. Perkins. So as usual, I'm just going to cover some of the things that we always cover. I did want to acknowledge that we had an in-custody death. It does appear to be a suicide. However, as with most of these types of events, it's going to be investigated as a homicide, and we'll await the ME for a final report. We'll also talk about some of our investigative findings, training initiatives, recruitments, infrastructure, and then I want to cover the large jail network meeting. So first up on the employee update, we have 256 current employees. And I know that number does not seem to waver. However, I want to point out that in August of 2023, we only had 119 officers, and we are now up to 146 officers. So we are correcting the disproportionate staffing that we had previous. This next academy, it does start May 6th. We have secured CIT training for this academy and all future academies, which means that everybody that goes through this training will come out CIT certified. We also have space available in this academy and the future academies for staff that currently work there that haven't had that training to go through it. So eventually the majority of our officer staff will be CIT certified. Current class, right now we have 17 that are scheduled for the current academy. We have 7 that are awaiting the Chief of Operations review. 18 are in criminal history. We have 2 scheduled for a final interview, and we have 2 scheduled today for an initial interview. We do have a goal of 45 cadets by May 1st. We have looked at this as a team initiative, an agency-wide initiative. There is a bonus that is attached to it if we achieve that goal. My stance on this is that everybody is a recruiter. Every employee there should be an ambassador for our agency, and they should really talk about the positive things that are happening there and telling our story the way that it needs to be told. As far as the recruitment goes, we have initiated longevity pay. It's $300 a year up to 5 years of service for a total of $1,500 that's paid out on their anniversary. We have a recruitment bonus. It's $2,500 total, and they'll get 50% at the first year anniversary, and then the second half they'll get at their 2-year anniversary. We're finding that a lot of people start getting a little burnt out at about 18 months, so this should be enough to help push them over that 18-month mark and hopefully help with retaining them. We are still offering performance bonuses. This one just happens to be recruiting and trying to get up to that 45 number that we're looking for. We've also been able to provide free meals to all of our staff while they are on duty. And then, of course, we're advertising our starting pay at $40,000 to $45,000, depending on experience.
Excuse me, are these bonuses, when did they go into effect?
What do you mean?
The pay bonus, longevity, I mean, what date were they?
We went back to January 1.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We got an amazing deal from Tyler Media on some billboards and some bus stop benches, and they really, truly helped us out. We have 5 electronic billboards that are currently active, and they are in the process of installing the bus stop benches. This is a 90-day campaign, and I'm hopeful that it will push us over the number of people that we need in order for this academy to be what we consider successful. This is just an example of some of the ads that we have running right now. We have a lot, I've spent a lot of the last month focusing on just employee wellness and building teams. We've done quite a bit, and some of this has already started earlier in the year. We do have a monthly birthday celebration, and we'll provide cake and acknowledge them. They have a small little gift bag that has a soda and a note saying, thank you for working here. And we did have an employee cookout on March 14th. As some of you know, I really appreciate those of you that came. It meant a lot to our staff to have you there. Staff t-shirts. We've designed a t-shirt. This is something that they had asked for, and we were proud to deliver those, and most of them are wearing them pretty much every day, even though it's only one shirt. We are going to reintroduce Employee of the Month, and we're going to look at it from an officer perspective and the civilian perspective. We'll give out value awards, so anybody that has demonstrated one of our values exceptionally, we will be able to give out an award for that. Looking at virtual recognition, and this is just more lighthearted, inclusive awards, so we can more broadly recognize people. And this will be done during the town hall meetings. We did have our first town hall meeting last Friday, and I sent out a poll afterwards. The people that saw it felt that it was mostly successful. They gave me some good feedback, and we'll be looking to integrate some of that feedback into the future town hall meetings so everybody feels as if it's relevant to them. We are doing our next team birthday celebration April 17th, and we have a team breakfast coming up April 19th from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And my executive assistant will be sending out invites for all of you to participate if you wish. And then we're also looking toward May 5th to 11th, which is Correctional Officers Appreciation Week. This is just some of the training that we have lined up. The Leadership School, which is the National Institute of Corrections curriculum, Law Enforcement Active Shooter Emergency Response. We actually have 4 staff members there right now. It's in Pitcher, Oklahoma. Later this month, myself, a captain, and someone from our medical staff will be going to Aurora, Colorado to the National Institute of Corrections to the Managing Restrictive Housing training. And then later in the year, we're looking to send people to the American Correctional Association conference for a variety of reasons. Obviously, there's a lot of training and workshops, networking, getting familiar with ACA standards and looking at what that means to our facility. And obviously, this is going to be a reward for some of our top performers. Some of our investigations have resulted in contraband that's been found. We're doing regular, frequent searches of the facility, residents, vendors, volunteers, and even staff. So far, and this is just in the past 2 weeks or so, we've recovered 12-gram package weight of Suboxone, numerous unknown substances, shanks. We've also received intelligence on contraband and how it's getting in, and we also got intelligence on threats to staff. Our infrastructure, the HVAC, they have the scope and final walkthrough, or a walkthrough, on April 10th. That's this Wednesday. The loading dock, the contract has been awarded, and they're waiting for the post-bid walkthrough and to begin the construction. We've completed the 8th floor. They're just putting the final touches on a couple of the lights up there. We've already started transitioning some of our residents from the 6th floor to the 8th floor, and so far it's gone pretty good. The women are very appreciative of having nice, clean, bright, refreshed cells. So they'll be starting the 6th floor soon. I did want to take a minute to introduce Greg Couch. He comes to us with 32 years experience in law enforcement. He's worked in Oklahoma and Colorado. He is our Chief Security Systems Officer, and his specialty is in all of the systems that keep our facilities secure. I did want to go ahead and introduce him and let him explain some of the things that he's been working on. Greg.
Thank you. It's good to be here and good to see all of you. So one of my major goals is to enhance and increase our physical security at the detention facility. Give the people that say work in central control more capabilities to leverage into artificial intelligence and things of that nature. That's going to help them respond to threats more effectively. And when I say threats, usually that's like a big red flag for a lot of people. A threat could be somebody that has a warrant coming into the facility, somebody whose intent is not to just be a visitor. So that's kind of what I'm talking about there. I don't perceive any quote unquote terroristic type threats to the facility, but of course we'll be prepared for that. So I'm in the middle of doing a 100% full security assessment, including physical security, access control, and CCTV, which is the cameras. And kind of my goal is to anything that I would propose to purchase would be needing to me to be required to be able to carry us to the next facility, 5 to 10 years down the road, future proof our technology and not waste money on somewhere that we're not going to be permanently, if that makes sense. So having said all of that, that's just kind of a general idea of what I see my role as. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions from anyone?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Miles?
So you're talking about using the CCTV with the AI to facial recognition, and if the movements similar to what a lot of the other prisons and stuff across the country are using, so we can find when they're grouping and alert our officers, correct?
Yes, what we would be doing is using best practices of the AI technology that's available. And it's, as you know, tenfold every few months. It's increasing at a rapid pace now. So,
That's
yeah.
great. Yeah. And then what's the investment going to look like to get us up to that?
That's a great question. I'm not finished with my security assessment yet. After that's done, in a couple of weeks, I'll have a better position on that, and then I would run that through CEO Garner.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I wanted to take some time to talk about the large jail network meeting that I went to last month. It was hosted by the National Institute of Corrections, San Diego County Sheriff's Office. They were great hosts, as usual. There was about 90 people there from all across the nation, including jail administrators and sheriffs, people from the national level organizations. The meeting for this, it actually covered gender responsive training and how we work better with justice involved women. Day one was a lot of the classroom time, a lot of the meetings that discussed, and a lot of the training that discussed some of these concepts. And there was a special guest, the U.S. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco actually spoke to us. But in that room, there were so many people that, I'd love to be able to recognize, because, the wealth of expertise that they had was just phenomenal. And I drew upon a lot of what they had to talk about. The second day, we toured Los Colinas Detention and Reentry Center. This facility is expansive. It's I can't even remember how many acres, but there was a lot of green space available, both inside the secure area and outside of the secure area. That top left photo is actually in the secure side of the facility, and it's built such that depending on your classification level, you are allowed to leave the housing unit to go to medical, to go to your classes. It's more like a college campus environment. It's something that I would love to see in our new jail at some point. Same thing for the picture on the left and the middle. Again, all of that is on the secure side of the facility, and you would never know it. The room on the right, that is a visitation, like a family visitation area. It's geared towards family reunification and children's visits. And then they have a lot of really interesting programs there. They had a barista program where they taught them how to be baristas. You know, it's a big thing in California, I guess. But what was really cool about it is that they had kiosks that were set up almost like food trucks within the secure facility, and officers would go to get the coffee from them and order their drinks. So they were getting job training, and it was also building the relationship between the security staff and the residents there. They had gardening programs. They were teaching them how to garden, how to farm, all sorts of agricultural. There's hydroponics there. If you notice the top picture in the middle, that is what most of their cells look like. There's not any door. There's just a wide open area with a bunk and a cubby. There's windows. It was really phenomenal to see. And then the second picture in the middle, that is one of their program rooms that's attached to the housing unit. So it doesn't require movement of people from one area to another. Like right now, if they want to go to programs, it requires one of our staff members going and pulling people from the various locations and putting them in a central location. This allows for so many different opportunities, not only programs, but visits with attorneys or mental health or medical. And then on the right is kind of the day room area. It's got chairs set up, and they've got a little bit of a library and, of course, television. Some of the key data that I came away with is that in 2022, 14% of the nation's population were in jail were women, and that has increased from 21 to 22. It's increased 9%, where men only increased 3%. Approximately 60% of women in jail are not convicted, and they're mostly on property and drug offenses. Compared to men, they are typically the primary caregivers for minor children. 80% of them are parents, and they're more likely to be single parents. An estimated 1.3 million children are separated prior to the age of 18, due to imprisonment. 5% of women that enter the justice system are pregnant. They also have more limited education and employment histories. They commit fewer violent crimes, and they respond differently to treatment and criminal justice supervision. They obviously have a more extensive history of physical and sexual abuse, 3 times greater than men. 33% in prison and 25% in jail report that they have been raped at some point in their lives. Women's substance use is highly correlated to all of this abuse. And then 22% of women in jail on national average are diagnosed with PTSD. And then prior to arrest, 37% of these women had incomes less than $600 per month. I say all that to say, just it really drove the point home that our women we have to do something different with them. They have unique challenges. They've had unique things happen to them in their lives that has brought them to where they're at. And what we found is that it is more relationship driven. Women are they're driven by the relationships that they're in. And so some of the key takeaways is that there's a difference between gender informed and gender responsive. We've gone through some of the trauma informed training, but we haven't done much to do trauma responsive, gender responsive, and that's going to take work on our policies and our practices. The Gender Equity Initiative should include residents and our employees. And then we also learned about the importance of understanding trauma in relationship to justice-involved women. We should start planning for reentry upon entering. And that's not really news, but it's something that really just drove the point home that a lot of these women do have a chance to recover and reenter society and become, the mothers and the women that they were meant to be. Women do heal through connection and relationships with others. And the one thing that they said works best is community resources and relationships. What they have found, and I can get all of the data if you're interested, but what they have found is that the popular programs like MRT or CBT, they're popular because you can collect data on them and it's easy. It's easy. But what they've actually found is that these community relationships, allowing people that have lived experience to come into the facility, and all of our different community partners coming in, is what helped the most with recidivism for them. It was great training. I came back with a lot of information. This doesn't even scratch the surface, but I just wanted to share some of that with you all. Top 10 charges for March 2024. Possession of CDS, 16%. It continues to be one of the highest charges. I'm not going to go through all of them. I think all of you have a copy of the data there. We have 113 people that are there for murder, 20 for manslaughter, 149 people are there for charges of some type of sexual nature, and 76 people are there for aggravated drug trafficking. This is a new slide that I can continue doing if you find some value in it. I thought it was really interesting. This just shows the population for the last 6 months and what, how they're being booked in. The graph on the right, it classifies people based on our current population. So you can see the blue is 2024. The majority of our females and our males have all been booked in this year. And then it kind of trickles up. So we have very few people that have been here since 2021 and before, but we do have a few. Our daily head count, it continues to stay somewhere around the 1,250 to 1,300 range. I don't know that we've actually broke 1,300, but the average is 1,238 for the month of March. And we have booked in about 56 people on average every day. Our DOC numbers are staying about steady. All of these numbers are staying pretty steady. People that are in mental health observation, obviously that's highly situational and they're constantly going on and off of that observation. A lot of people are coming in, going on mental health observation only to be cleared a couple of days later, so that number is always going to be high and fluctuating. We have administrative segregation, disciplinary segregation. All of those are staying pretty steady. There's an image missing from this slide, and it was about today's population, which is 1211. We have 35 veterans self-reporting in custody, 30 homeless people. Our DOC number right now, the people that have JNSs, it's 93. We have 151 people that are age 50 plus. On an average, they've been there for 104 days. The longest standing person over 50 has been there for 1,159 days. We have 8 awaiting transport to the Oklahoma Forensic Center in Bonita. That's for a 169-day average, and the maximum is 613 days. And there's only one over 1 year for the wait, and then one on the list waiting for a second trip. That concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
I have a question on that last graph that you showed, the population by different agencies that we're booking in. We used to have a box that broke that percent into percentages. Is there a way to reinstall that
We can-
beyond the hard numbers?
We can do that.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
I would
We can do that.
appreciate it. Any
No
other
problem.
questions?
Yes, on the employee
Mr. Johnson.
recruitment incentive, the longevity pay stops at 5 years.
It does.
And I know there are budget constraints, but I recommend that maybe in, every 5 years after that, some form of recognition.
Okay.
When I was at the jail for with Speaker Steele for the focus group, the officer that took me up said he'd been there 18, 20 years, so it'd be real nice if that's recognized. That's a long time for frontline staff.
Yes, it is.
So if you can't do it something financially, there's some way of recognizing those milestones, 5, 10, 15 years.
Okay.
And then on staff training and professional development, and we talked about this at the work meeting, the training I talked about that we sent staff to, with the exception of American Correctional Association meeting, that was all through a grant, Department of Justice. So if you look at some grants writing and maybe get some of that, but that's paid for all the training that we send staff to.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Thank you.
I don't know if you have anybody that's pretty good at grant writing, but that's easy. And it's money from the Department of Justice. A lot of it goes untapped. So, but that's how we were able to send staff to training.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Mr. Buck?
Just as a record set director, I appreciate the daily head count March 2024, just as a level set. How would that have compared to our year over result? So March of 23.
Do we have? We were 1,528.
So a significant decline year over year.
Absolutely.
And the second, if I could, Mr. Chair? Sure. Okay. Congratulations on making the commitment to CIT training for each of your staff. I think that is a very commendable effort. Just as a matter of level setting, what does becoming certified in CIT, that's not a 1 or 2 hour workshop, correct?
No, that's a 5-day class.
40 hours of training.
40 hours
correct?
of training. It includes classroom. It includes practical exercises. They'll have scenarios. Well, they'll have to respond to people that are playing the role of somebody that's in a crisis. They also get to meet with members of the community that might have mental illness that have been there through the justice system, and also mental health providers in the community.
So when we talk about CIT certification, this is not CIT light. This is the full CIT program with the rigor that was introduced when this program first developed, correct?
Absolutely. The only thing that has changed is the scenarios. Most of the scenarios are geared towards patrol officers on the street. We are going to have to develop the scenarios to fit the detention center because we deal with a unique set of problems.
To your knowledge, will we be the first detention center in Oklahoma that is fully CIT certified?
To my knowledge, yes,
Thank you.
sir.
Commissioner?
Just, we had previously discussed doing a veterans housing unit.
Mhm.
Are we still looking at that, or are we progressed? Have we done it? What?
Yes and no.
35.
One of the problems that we run into is even though we have the 2 Edward pod, that's an open dorm that we could possibly utilize, we have multiple different classifications within that group of people. And so we may not be able to have a full pod dedicated to just our veterans, but I know that MAC is working with some groups to try to work on getting them placement, getting them assistance, helping them through the system.
And to your question, Mr. Chairman, 87% was the bookings for Oklahoma City. Just quick math.
For March?
For April 1, 2024. So they had 1,063 out of the 1,211 that were inside were brought in by Oklahoma City.
Through March.
That's
Yeah.
through March.
Yeah. So
Makes
that's,
me feel better, not all in one day.
that's, yeah,
No.
that's quite a bit.
87%.
Well, that was just based off the population, not the bookings.
Yeah.
So,
That's not the average, like they have the
Not the
average, so. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir, Reverend.
Chair. Director Garner, would you say that recruitment of staff has been a huge problem for us?
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask, as it relates to the recruiting ads, have we started running these digital billboards?
Yes, they started last week, Wednesday, I believe.
Do we have a primary one that is being run, or do they rotate?
It's just one ad that's being run,
Is it
and
this one?
it may have switched over to that. The first one that we used was the one on the top left, I believe, and
But primarily this one.
Mark, can you tell me, did we switch to yellow?
No, so one of the bills is going to be on the bus benches.
Yeah.
And then the other ones we have, there's 5 billboards, they're using 2 of the billboards. Because they're different size billboards around. So you'll see all three of those ones. On the yellow line.
Okay. My next line of question is, it's not you, we're just asking questions,
Mhm.
and I'm sure my questions will get criticized behind closed doors, but I hope they would understand the heart in which I'm asking these questions. As I look at this ad, so I'm wondering a couple of things. One, why the pictures with the hand over the heart, which I don't know if it's Pledge of Allegiance, but why? Why are those pictures there?
You would have to ask our marketing and communications, but I can tell you that it's one of the first major graphic images that we had that would fit in there without showing a bunch of the clutter in the background. And I think it honors, they're making a commitment to work there and to take care of the people there. I mean, that's what it says to me, but I think it's, anybody can interpret it however.
Demographically, do you have an approximate percentage number of African American Hispanics who work within the Oklahoma County Detention Center?
Yes, it's on one of these slides here. It's on, I think it's the first slide that we have. So you can see 48% are white. Looks like, it's hard to see the shades of color here, but it looks like 34% of our employee workforce is African American, and so on and so forth.
So 34% African American. And in Oklahoma County, we have approximately 11% African Americans in Oklahoma County. So disproportionately positive high number for staff at the Oklahoma County Detention Center. So it sends a message to me that really, percentage-wise, we have a great number of African Americans who do desire to come to work at Oklahoma County Detention Center, which is a great thing.
Absolutely.
When I look at these marketing ads, it doesn't send the message that needs to be sent. Now, again, look around this room. I think it's about 20 people in here. I believe it appears the great majority, looks like all but two are Caucasian. And so you're only going to look at it from the standpoint that you're going to look at it, not you.
Sure.
I love you. That's not you, but just whoever is producing these marketing materials. I don't like them, and I'm sure that probably others around here, they're probably like, Scobie, no big deal. But that's why you have different trust members to look at different things.
Mm-hmm.
And with the hand over the heart, that sends a message that is not the greatest message to potentially really good staff. Because when I look at that one, the yellow one, it just doesn't send. If we're talking about 34% African Americans that are working there, yeah, it's just I'm just voicing my personal opinion. I don't like it, and I think we could do better. And for the ones that would criticize me behind closed doors for my line of question, the most difficult problem that we're having right now is recruiting staff. So we need to do whatever we can do that is not unethical, immoral, or illegal to get people to get through those doors and come to work. Am I right about that?
You're absolutely right.
These ads.
So on the
we could
first,
do better.
I would like to point out that on the ones that are on the billboard, the one on the top left, I believe there are six individuals up there.
That's great.
50% of those are African American.
You're out of order. Mr. Chair, is he out of order? Okay. That is not my point.
Okay.
I asked you before which one was the one that was primarily being used.
Mm-hmm.
You said the top left has been used, but this one is being used.
I
don't make the decisions. I'm only bringing things out for us to look at.
Sure.
to expand our view. That's all.
Oh,
That's all.
it's well taken.
Not necessarily over here. So
It's well
that's
taken.
all I have.
Mrs. Perkins.
Okay.
Or maybe a question for my colleague. Would it be helpful to see an African-American male or female on the bench ad?
Oh, I fully agree that it should. Listen, let me say the other part. Listen, I love America. Absolutely love the United States of America. Grateful to God that I was born in the United States of America and I live in the United States of America. Sometimes when you have pictures like that, it sends this very robust, patriotic mindset or communication piece to some who might not be as robust, patriotic people. Doesn't mean they're not couldn't be a good staff member, because again, to work there, your passion needs to be for people. Am I right?
Yes.
You may be have the mindset, I live here, but I don't know if I feel it's the greatest place in the world. But that doesn't matter. What matters is people, the people you serve. And we could possibly, with these pictures, be sending a message to some to say, these are the kind of people we're looking for. I'm just throwing it out
It's
there.
fair.
That's all.
It's
Thank
fair.
you.
Thank you.
My second comment would be, I would enjoy continuing to see the current population between male and female, and then if you would also do percentages on that as well.
For the,
For the booking,
okay. Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. Garner.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to accept her report?
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion and a second to accept Mrs. Garner's report. So Mrs. Campisi, call the roll, and if we haven't informed, we vote electronically also. Mrs. Perkins. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Next up is Mr. Sherman. Finance report and invoices and claims.
Good afternoon and happy Eclipse Day. So we've redone, we're going to redo this again because in looking at it, we're going to start putting 3 months worth of our information on there and current budget.
Good.
Chairman Albaugh mentioned that, and that's a good idea. So we're going forward going to be heading that direction. Just that way, it gives everybody the perspective of a several month process. That way, if you have questions about where we're either up or we're down, it'll be a lot easier to see. Currently, right now, we're at $3.4 million in cash on hand, and a lot of it, as we go to revenue, there's not a lot of things there that change substantially. They are below budget, and the majority of that is simply because of our current population, which is not a bad thing. So on our total expenses, we had $2,474,745 for a favorable budget variance of $621,842. Our salaries, wages, and benefits totaled $1,596,162 for the month, and that was below budget by $233,000. Our resident on-site medical care is consistent at $666,226 per month for turnkey and our comprehensive medical care. Our resident off-site medical care was $90,593, which was substantially above our budget by $22,593. We're withholding payment right now to our food provider due to some billing issues that we recognized, and we told them until they get those billing issues fixed, we're not going to pay those invoices until they get those billing errors.
Are they responding?
Yes, they are. It's just taken them, it's taken them a little time to get it done, but they are responding. Our professional legal services was 21,139. You know, our utilities again were below budget. And we do have some pods that are being renovated, so we don't have a lot of people in there, and there's not a lot of electricity and stuff being run through those because they're repainting and fixing some of the cells. Our professional service for other fees was $14,095, and that was for mostly express personnel services, the group we had come in that were painting the pods. So for the month of March, jail operations produced a net profit for the month of $312,489. It was, of course, mainly because of unused payroll expenses, lower utility bills, and our workers' compensation renewal deposit of $243,410, which will be paid in this month instead of in March. There were three other sheets because I had January and February's in there too. Okay, well, those are not showing up.
I don't think we have those either.
Oh, okay.
I don't
It
have
just
a
didn't.
presentation. That's, no, those are, yeah, those are, I got two from the jail. Oh, that's all right. That's all right. I know, this is nice.
You don't have a copy?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Well, let's don't hold up the meeting for me. I'm not worth it. What page are we working on now?
It's an excellent question.
Page 2. Okay.
So page 2 is just a look back, of course, to our January information. Because the idea will be, once we get this, the format of this figured out, is that we'll have all these lined up where you can go along line by line and exactly see where we're either short or we're above budget. So just a quick hit the highlight of March. Our total revenue was $3,225,399, which was an unfavorable variance to the budget of $3,926. Of course, most of our revenue will continue to come from the general fund of Oklahoma County. Our Department of Corrections revenue was $229,176. Our telephone revenue was $116,499, which was below budget. Commissary was below budget by $10,168, which again, those just lend themselves to the fact that we have a lower population than we have in the past. Our total expenses were $2,784,725 for a favorable variance to the budget of $366,305. Our salaries, wages, and benefits totaled $1,533,790 for the month and was below budget by $295,462. Detainee offsite medical care was $666,226. Our offsite medical care was $62,490, which was below budget by $5,510. The utility bill for electricity was $29,702 and was below budget by $14,298. And our professional services legal fees were $42,715. Professional services other fees were $21,167, which again goes back to the express personnel services that were painting the pods. So for the month of January 2024 jail operations produced a net profit for the month of $440,674, which of course goes back to mainly because of unused payroll and utility savings. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm not going back over information. Okay, and so this one is for the income statement for February of 2024. Our total income for February was $3,074,856, which gave us an unfavorable variance to the budget of $154,469. Department of Corrections was $68,445 and below the budget by $81,555. Our total telephone revenue was $114,732, which was below budget by $15,268. Our commissary revenue was $49,943 and below budget by $10,057. Our municipalities contract boarding revenue was $2,134. Our Oklahoma City contract is still pending, and we will be meeting with them. Yeah, and that meeting is tomorrow at 4 with the city. So does anybody have any questions on any of that information?
It's a lot of information, Mr. Sherman.
Well, and I want to say that when I know it had been discussed about the longevity, and the reason that was me, and the reason I landed on the 5 years was because that's when, from the county standpoint, they vest into the retirement program. So we were kind of using that as an incentive to keep people in the system till they reached the time when they vested into their retirement.
I do think Mr. Johnson has a good idea about stretching that out to those who have longer terms of service.
Yes,
Makes
sir.
a great deal of sense. It may be a small number, but still, that still communicates as well, you know, a commitment to our employees
Absolutely.
long term.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Excuse me, but
Mr.
you
Johnson.
might be able to do something monetarily if you're talking about people who just hit those milestones at 5-10 versus all staff that are there. So, but it's, even if you can't do it monetary, just some recognition, because again, that's, you know, for your frontline staff, that's a lot of time.
Absolutely. And I will say CEO Garner has kind of pounded that into everybody's head that we need to do our best to take care of our people.
Any other questions for Mr. Sherman?
Just,
Commissioner?
can you do a projection on what our DOC annual would be with the proposed increase that's currently at the legislature? I think it's an $8 a day increase. I think it goes from 27 to 35, but don't quote me on that. I'll give you the exact number, but if you could put that projection together and find out what that's going to do to impact our budget,
Absolutely.
I think that'd be great. Thank you.
I think you also have to look at the annual average of number of JNSs that are in-house. It just can't be a number because it runs up and down, as we all know. Any other questions? Thank you. Oh, Mr. Bucks.
A request of information and clarification is, since we have multiple months of financial reports, are multiple motions needed, or can one motion satisfy the complete submission of reports?
I think one motion is acceptable.
Then I will move to accept the financial reports as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Motion and second for receiving Mr. Sherman's financial report. Please vote electronically. Mrs. Campisi, call the roll. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item number 4, Mrs. Sherman, you're back up. All those statements, you don't need to run over again, I don't believe, unless there's an outlier here.
And there shouldn't be. No, the only thing in there, again, is that we withhold payment to
Correct.
one of our vendors,
Correct.
but that's
Right.
that's the only thing that.
And the workers' comp.
Yeah, so Summit they've corrected one of their invoices, but we have two other from previous months that they have not corrected.
How out around were they on that one? Do you know? Do you recall
I mean,
significantly?
our population was at, about where it is now, and we were paying for well over 1,700 meals.
Great Scott. We got to keep on top of that.
And we are.
All right. Any questions, further questions on invoices and claims? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve claim.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Campisi, call the roll, please. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. That completes action on item 4. We go to 5, and yes, Mr. Sherman, you're up again.
I feel like I'm loitering.
No? Well, we'll pick you up if you loiter it too long. This is an MOU between Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority and the Board of County Commissioners on behalf of the Oklahoma County Clerk. Go ahead and explain, sir.
We needed the new MOU so that we could move to Paycom, because a lot of our information lives over here in their office. And in order to get that, we needed a new MOU, because there are a lot of things in there we will no longer be using them for, that will be going to Paycom. And so they reduced the price and made sure we had everything we needed to get everything done with Paycom. So they were great to work with. So.
And just to remind all trustees and the public, we moved to Paycom for what?
Payroll.
Payroll only, or the additional help on the 401k that they afford us? No, just the payroll.
Currently just payroll.
Okay.
We have talked to them about looking at that, but we haven't had an active
You're not
discussion. We've
there
been
yet.
trying to get the payroll portion.
I understand. Counselor, is the MOU square with you as written? Number 5? Okay. Any other questions on this MOU that anyone has? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Campisi, call the roll, please. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Campisi. Item 6, Mr. Alma and the IT report.
Good afternoon.
Good.
The last one. Yeah, that one. All right, just a couple of updates, and then I've got a video demonstration of our new mobile technology that we're going to show you guys. I'm going to talk about stuff about the mobiles, and then also some new data points and report examples that are going to come along with that. The mobile devices we're testing floor by floor, a slow rollout. We've got really good feedback so far from users who have used it. We've been doing some fine tuning on some things. Like I said, I've been going floor by floor so I can engage individually with those using it so they get real comfortable with it before we fully go live. I plan on going live Wednesday this week with the whole building. Not as a full live, more as a test. We're not going to pull out the paper logbooks necessarily. We're going to leave those behind just in case there's an issue or for whatever reason someone's not comfortable with picking it up. We can at least get stuff logged. But the idea is that starting this week, we'll have digital logs of a lot of things. New data points, meals dispersed or refused, which also if someone refuses a meal, we're going to get an email notification. Same story with the med disbursement and refusal. If they refuse their medication, we'll get an email alert. Site check logs with timestamps. And also on that, if a site check is late or missed, we're going to get an email alert about that too. There's also other facility activities, pretty much everything we do, cell inspections, cell cleaning, the list goes on of things that go on, but it's all going to be logged and reportable electronically. Got a video here. Wi-Fi throughout the building. Maintenance even tells me they get Wi-Fi coverage on the rooftop. Whoa. Can you just click in there? I don't have a play button here. Sorry, this is the video.
Hi, this is a presentation from the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. We will be demonstrating how we use our new mobile devices compared to how we used to use our logbooks.
We'll show you how to do a site check, mill and med pass, and an activity log. In the past, detention officers would enter the time and date they enter a pod into a paper logbook, either to do a site check or any number of other tasks.
The officer would use a printed paper recon sheet that contains the pictures of each resident to confirm the resident is in the correct cell and accounted for.
By using the handheld device, the officer can easily identify a resident by taking a picture. This also tells the officer what cell the resident is supposed to be in and what their charges are.
While performing site checks with the old system, the officer would go from cell to cell, checking on each resident. Then log the site check in a paper logbook once the check was completed.
Using the new handheld device, an officer first scans the QR code outside the pod before entering. This automatically logs the time and date into the computer system. The officer will now conduct the site check procedure as they are trained to do. Once the check is complete, the officer will scan the QR code a second time. This tells the system the site check has been performed.
By doing our site checks on a mobile device, we can move freely throughout the facility, enabling us to log our work and be more efficient. With the old system, the only way to see if certain tasks had been performed was to go throughout the facility and read each logbook for each pod to verify the task was done.
The new system gives staff the ability to immediately check the computer and see what tasks have been completed throughout the facility and which ones still need to be performed. Thank you for learning with us.
We hope you have a wonderful day.
So here's a sample of one of those reports. It's a site check report. It shows you who did the site check, what they observed, if it's all clear, if there's an incident. If there is an incident, it forces them to input a comment of what happened. We can also force video or pictures also on incidents. It also tells you if the site check was on time or if it was late. All of these except the third one down were on time where it says no there. And then I guess they were dealing with dead animals outside the Sally Port, so that caused them to be late on that one. Same story here with mills dispersed. Since doing the testing, no one refused a mill, so that's good, but we see that everything was delivered there. And but like I said, anyone that refuses a mill, we're going to get immediately an email about it. So what's left to do on this? Just go live support and sustainment for the mobiles. I'm working on Justice Systems SharePoint, which that's been going back and forth with the judges on that, getting that tested and fully implemented between them and our booking staff as far as getting those probable cause back and forth digitally. And then other SharePoints and paperless procedures internally, whatever I can identify that uses a paper process that we can turn into a digital one, that's going to be what I'm working on moving forward. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Alma? Mr. Johnson?
Yes. So you scan the resident's face whenever they're awake. So when they're sleeping, from what I saw, they scanned the outside of the pod when they arrived and scanned it when they left. So how do you verify that they went to each room or cell and verified that that resident is sleeping, they're safe, or whatever? How do you verify that?
I mean, you can. I would say the time of the timing of it. If someone just pops in and pops out, you'll tell there will only be a 15-second site check. If it's a 10-minute or 15-minute, then you can reasonably assume someone did some work while they were in there. I mean, or they were in there hanging out. It's very similar to on paper right now. How do you verify someone did it? We check cameras.
I'm saying, so if you're talking about timing,
Yeah.
I could scan it, stand right outside the pod, and just look at my watch, and then that's reasonable enough time.
So my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a gap that they have to fill. There's a 5-minute gap that they have to fill. Okay. But when we're doing site checks, we're not logging individuals. If they're sleeping or if they're awake, it makes no matter to us. We're not scanning individuals in. The facial recognition technology is going to be used if we don't have the ability to identify somebody because they've lost their wristband or whatever the case may be. It'll help us verify who they are if we're taking them out of the pod, if we're doing an actual head count. But site checks themselves, they're logged by pod, not by individual. So it's the same thing. How do we trust that they're actually doing the site checks now? Well, somebody physically has to walk upstairs or take the elevators upstairs, get the logbook, flip through pages, hope that you can read through the writing and decipher what is going on. And then sometimes they forget to log because it's one thing that they have to go and grab it. They have to find a pen. They have to find, So you're right. It's not a foolproof plan, but at least it's something that helps move us into, the 21st century. Because historically, when we're being asked by regulators for records, we're literally having to have somebody go gather all the books and make page by page copies. This way we can just generate a report that shows. If there's cause for concern that we think that somebody isn't doing the site checks, we have a whole investigative division that's.
And you'll have to excuse the learning curve for me. So
Sure.
Whenever that person is scanning, is there anybody on the pod there? Or is that the person doing it? I'm just trying to understand how it works.
So when they're scanning into the pod, so I'm an officer, I'm about to go do a site check. I scan into the pod. I'm supposed to go in and I'm supposed to do my rounds. I check on every person in every cell, make sure you look for signs of life, flesh, and movement. Once you're done, you would scan out and say that you've done. Doing a proper site check is going to take longer than 5 minutes in those pods because of the size of those pods. So it won't allow them to scan out at least for 5 minutes. Again, could they stand there for 5 minutes and do nothing? Sure, but they're going to get caught.
This is all on camera, right?
It's all
Of
on
course,
camera.
okay.
Everything's on camera.
And no system is perfect. And the reason why I say this is my history at one of the juvenile facilities. They decided, because they weren't doing the checks, to have a little metal deal on the door or whatever, and they have a wand that says, "Oh, I looked in there." And when they did an investigation, they found out they were giving it to a kid who's going by going boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And so what I required is my staff to go in the unit, under the camera, sign the logbook.
Yeah.
And so forth, because the technology is only as good as the people that are using it. So,
Right.
but if you don't have people there that can verify that, then I guess that's you have the ability to pull up the camera. But that's why I said that, because they're supposed to be doing checks and they weren't doing it. And that's why I said I required them to go on the unit, under the camera, sign the logbook, and then make their checks. But it's a different system. So again, there's more required with adolescents and juveniles.
So interestingly, and I can't speak to this intelligibly, but some of the people that worked at the jail for a long time probably know the wand system was there. And I can recall stories of people that I used to work with that worked there that said they used to have races on who can hit the wands the fastest. So this isn't one of those situations. Yeah. And again, it's in our policy. We have the shift commanders that do inspections to make sure that the logs are, the site checks are actually being done. We have, again, a whole internal affairs unit that is very competent, and they are Johnny on the spot with being proactive in the audits. And so Again, it's not foolproof,
No,
but
no,
it's a
yeah, I agree.
vast
And that's,
improvement.
and that's why, again, I just was not a fan of that because, you know, when you pull up the computer, it says, oh, it made those checks, but who was making the checks? In this case, it wasn't a staff person.
Yeah.
That's why. So, but, okay. I mean, I won't belabor the point.
Also, each person that logs into and does the check, they log into it individually. So it
Okay.
also logs who performed the check.
Okay. Okay. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Jeff, does it actually track movement? Are we able to track movement with inside? So like we can see the mobile unit in their hand actually walking a unit or a pod?
Physically throughout the floor? No.
Okay.
No.
That's the price of a different system, I think.
Is that right?
Much higher. You have to have responders and repeaters and let's do that in the new jail. What do you say? Assuming we get one.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of employing an IoT type technology like
that's
that.
what it is, but it's a batch of money.
I'm sure it is.
Any questions?
The only other thing I'll say real quick, I didn't mention it too much, but when you saw her walking around with the recon to do her count, that's a stack of paper that gets printed for each pod, for each floor. They do it twice a day. Twice a day that happens. That's no more paper for that anymore. I anticipate that'll be well over 1 million sheets of paper a year that we save.
That's good. Well, we'll have some growing pains with this, but we'll get used to it.
Of course.
By the way, have the two actresses obtained agents that were in the film yet? Thank you for doing that, and I don't see the other person here, but thank her as well. One last question.
Yes.
When you're talking about reporting in on the pads, if there are meds refused, is Miss Donna get to know about it? I mean, is she the contact person?
We can set that contact to whoever we like. And-
Okay, who's
and-
going to be? I'm sorry? Okay. I just want to make sure there's some accountability, that it's just not going to central control and all that information that we've gathered at an expensive price is going to waste. Somebody has to be in charge of each one of those categories, I assume.
My idea would be for these to be disseminated as widely as possible so that as many people are aware of a situation that needs attention as quickly as possible.
Do we have any employees that are refusing to learn how to use the pad?
There's been a few that are afraid, but none that have been outright.
Being afraid
no.
and refusing are two different things. We're all afraid of AI.
Skynet.
But
Sir?
Skynet.
Yeah, that's right.
none have refused, and it's been overwhelmingly
Popular, I hope.
positive and popular. as
So
far as,
reaffirmation of the hard work that they put in. Otherwise, everybody has to go with logbooks.
exactly. I think for those who have used it so far, they see firsthand the time saving and the efficiency.
Well, I know you and your team have spent a great deal of time implementing this system. I applaud everybody who's had their 2 cents added to this, and it's going to make us a better facility in the long run and a safer run facility for our customers.
It's been a team effort. It's not been just me. It's
No,
been
no,
a little
I
bit
know
of
that.
everybody's had their hand in
This whole kick and caboodle is a team effort.
Exactly.
You know, it's a cog in a wheel, and we're all just baby cogs. So thank you, Mr. Rama. I appreciate your report.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion for accepting Mr. Rama's report. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, sir. Mrs. Kambezi, call the roll, please. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, item 7. Mr. Mullings and Lieutenant Ross are going to give us an update on some programs, including the CARE unit. I'm just glad they didn't put you in the film, Mac.
True. I know. Hey, 20 years in radio, I got a face made for radio. That's a true story.
I get it. Who's going first?
I'll go first. Oh, we gotta do it really short for me.
First, I want to introduce myself. I'm Lieutenant Ross. I'm overseeing the care unit. Care unit, if y'all are not aware of it, it is community assistant resources and empowerment.
Could you speak closer to the mic, please? Thank you.
The care unit was created to assist family members and loved ones to the residents at Oklahoma County Detention Center. Our care unit staff can respond to inquiries and concerns from family and friends through the website on the care unit link and by calling the care unit phone line. Care unit also monitors tickets sent in by residents periodically. The care unit connects with medical, mental health officers, programs, religious services, outside resources, and many other departments to meet residents' needs. The care unit works closely with Mac Mullins and Staff Sergeant Paul in programs to maximize the outreach and the care to the residents. So I did a couple of pie charts for the stats for the different kinds of concerns that we deal with. We have mental health, staff hygiene programs, rehab, medical investigations, booking, releasing, funeral, diet plans, chaplain communication, DHS, and commissary. So as you see for January, that's whenever we first started the program. We had 22 quality of life concerns during the month of January, and our biggest concerns were with medical, and closely in second place was with commissary. February, we had 16. Again, it looks like we had a lot of medical concerns. And then following in March, we had 24, with, again, medical being the biggest concerns. And with April, we've already helped with 9 care unit requests. So each month it's growing more and more, and we're getting more of the request through the different ways that the family members can contact us.
On the medical request, is there a way to break down what most of the requests are concerning?
We could.
I think
you'd like
that's
that.
valuable information as it fluctuates month to month.
And a lot of the medical concerns are just family members concerned about maybe it's a mental health resident that has a long list of medication that they want us aware of, that we can let medical know, just so that they're getting the proper care. And maybe they can't voice their own, be their own voice, and so their family member will come through us, and then we'll be their voice for them.
That's totally understandable too.
Yeah. So there's just some scenarios that I wanted to go through, just to let y'all know that some of the things that we've been helping with. We had 2 parents come into our lobby. They were concerned with their mental health son because they had not had any communication with him. Me and Mac Mullins were able to have the parents stay in the lobby, and we were able to do a face-to-face tablet communication with them. And the mother, whenever we came back down, she said she had not been able to sleep for a month, and she was finally able to sleep that night. She was very appreciative to the care unit for doing that. We had a resident's family that was calling in about their son, that he had been having some drug problems. And the resident, we had went up and we visited with him. We do a lot of visits, and he was also concerned, and he wanted some kind of program he was ready to change. We were able to go up there again with programs, and we were able to connect him with an outside resource with a rehab facility, and he was able to get a bed at a facility upon his release. So we were able to make connections like that. Another scenario is we have many of these. We just did 2 today. We have some residents that have family members pass away while they're incarcerated, and we will go upstairs. We will visit with that resident. I will take programs with me, and we will also have a chaplain with us, and we also have mental health with us standing by. We are also able to, in some circumstances, we've been able to actually sit with that resident and allow them to actually view the footage of the funeral via tablet. Can you go back? Yeah. I did a little bit of research myself, and research has shown consistently through incarceration that it releases the outcome and lower offending rate, less anxiety, gives hope, gives them a sense of connection with the outside world. They're more likely to participate in some of our programs that we do offer. And one study found that visitation reduced the rate of recidivism by 13%.
You want me to go? You guys have any questions, or would you like me to go?
Any questions for the lieutenant? Okay, Mr. Microphone, you have it.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having us here. I really appreciate it. And Mr. Chair, these are my battle buddies. And it is an effort all together. So even though we work in different areas, these are my battle buddies. So I appreciate you saying that. Programs, I'm excited because we do have momentum. We've got Lieutenant Ross helps me, and also Sergeant Paul. Calm Waters comes in and brings their grief support recovery groups. And these are really special. Not only we do about 10 or 12 participants, and we have 2 facilitators, and they cover, I don't want to say catered, but it covers the areas of incarceration and how you experience. You would never, ever imagine the grief that happens to somebody who's in custody. When we first met and talked about Calm Waters coming in to do these, they said, what kind of grief what are they experiencing? How much time do you have, man? Like it's all kinds. Loss of a loved one, loss of a job, loss of a place to live, separation from kids, maybe even honestly grieving the fact that they have maybe done what they're being held for. So, but the good thing is these are beneficial, and there's growth that comes from this. You can see the camaraderie that happens when the participants are there. They love on each other. They support each other. They're going through the same thing. And it's just really special. And you can see it provides a safe place and a safe space for them to talk about feelings and really get to know each other. But the main thing that we try to do is get to the root. What is the root of this behavior? What keeps happening? And here, Mr. Alba, I know you like the photographs. They speak volumes. They really do. The one in the top left is from a prison fellowship hope event that we did for Father's Day, and we've actually got one coming up May 10th for Mother's Day. And what that is prison fellowship comes in, weather permitting, and all the approvals from the powers that be. I'd like to have it upstairs on the ball court because there's sunlight and all that. But we have they come in. There's a couple speakers. They do music, and then they'll have something special for the mothers. One year they had little voice recorders, and you could record a message for your child, and then the volunteers put it inside the Build-A-Bear, and then they sent it off to the bear. So it was very special. Again, you could have all the knickknacks and all that stuff, but what happens is this is growth, and this is peace, and this is hope that a lot don't have. This is hope. Here's the current schedule. Mondays, we have prison fellowships. That's from 10 a.m. to noon. And they cover healthy boundaries, creating new beginnings. They'll have some art stuff that they implement here pretty soon. On Tuesdays, we have the AA groups for the males. And this is really exciting. I got to be honest, because the 8th floor has been notorious for being the dangerous floor, right? We all know that. So they had the changes, and they're doing improvements, and they moved them to the 4th floor. Well, the guys that do the AA group, they're from Fort Adam, and it's fantastic. And they all get together, and they're funny, but they love on each other. They talk about, the why. And so what also is exciting is we have a Spanish facilitator that his background's going to get checked, and we'll do males, English, and Spanish simultaneously, which would be really great, obviously. Wednesdays, Calm Waters, they do, Tuesday afternoon is the men's, Wednesday afternoon is or vice versa. You can see it. I'm sorry, I can't read correctly. I can talk on a microphone, but I can't read well. Thursdays, this is exciting, the Stand Up Initiative. We're teaming up with Diversion Hub. And so there's a gentleman that's going to come in, and he's going to meet with 18 to 24-year-olds on that 4th floor and talking about generational trauma and focusing on generational faith and critical thinking and behaviors and all kinds of stuff that he's going to really work on them, and also inform them on the system. Some of them are not really sure how the program or the process of the system goes, but and it's also going to cover the gang behavior and all that. So it's going to be fantastic. I'm really excited for that. So that starts on Thursday. And then on Friday mornings, we have prison fellowship from 10 to noon. So That's all that I have for the programs.
I did not
Yes, sir.
see, for males, Monday and Fridays are females.
Yeah, so we're actually
So when
working.
are you working on?
Yes, sir.
males
Yeah,
find
yeah,
the
yeah.
house?
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, sir. Prison Fellowship did get approval for the males academy, and so I just have to wait and get the facilitators all cleared. And we were talking about actually doing Thursday afternoons. When we might have to change that schedule, but oh yeah, and we're trying to get it. Yes, she reminds me. We're on the working. I was going to Mr. Steele. Thank you for calling me today, brother. I appreciate it. We're going to talk about veterans and getting some peer groups for the veterans in. And then also, we're working with OIC, the, what is it, yes, thank you, about literacy and educational programs. And of course, we have a meeting with Oklahoma City Public Schools about virtual, how we can still implement the virtual, but I'm excited, things are happening, there's progress, but, and you could feel it too. You know, when she talks about, I don't want to spend a lot of time, but when she talks about going down to inform somebody of a loved one passing away, or like the gentleman today, you know, he just lost his brother last year, and then today he learns he lost his sister. And I lost my brother to mental illness in 2022. And in that same year, I lost my mom to bone cancer. I've done a lot of death notifications in that facility, but I've never gone to my mom's bed where she laid in bed dying from bone cancer and told her that my brother had taken his life. Never done that. But the experiences I have in the building have helped me grow. And my mantra, if I had one, is there, but for the grace of God, go I. Because I'm blessed to be in the building. I truly
It's true for all of us. Absolutely. Any questions for Mr. Mullings? Oh, Mr. Buck, I'm sorry.
We've asked this before. Care Center is still operated normal business hours. Family challenges exist 24/7, 365. So I hope that we will take the necessary steps to do that. And then just an observation while you were presenting. When you go to the phone version of our webpage, the Care Center is down at the very bottom, so you really have to seek it out. I think that's an extremely important service, so we may look at some sort of optimization to pull that to the front of the mobile phone platform.
They do have the NCIC, and they send in the request that Kara does, so we're able to check. She's checking the email constantly, but yes, sir. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you for your report. Is there a motion to receive this report and adopt it? Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Mrs. Campisi, call the roll, please. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Item 8, Mrs. Garner, you're up to talk about the MOU between the authority and the diversion hub.
I'll just keep it real short and sweet. We already have an MOU with them in place. The wording on this has just been modified slightly that allows them to not only seek federal funding, but that federal funding would then be for the program that Mac just talked about, the Stand Up initiative. That's pretty much it. Council has reviewed it. They've saw no issue with it, and I'm just seeking approval so we can move forward with that.
Any questions regarding the diversion hub MOU? If not, I'll receive a motion.
Motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Campisi, call the roll. Thank you. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Item 9. Thank you, Mrs. Campisi. Speaker Steele, you're up. Give us your thoughts on the Citizens Advisory Board.
Yes, sir. I'll be as brief as I can. I have a couple of things to mention, then I have a handout for you because I think sometimes it's easier to read than just listen to some things that have transpired since we last met. First of all, I just want to say to Commissioner Davidson that if you are concerned about having or about tracking the movement of the jail staff as they do the count, just turn on that Life 360 app. My wife can tell you exactly how fast I drive up and down I-40 every day, where I've been, what I'm doing. It seems to work well, at least in my family. I would tell the trust that I'm encouraged. As I stand before you today, I'm encouraged by all the reports that we received, and I just believe that creating this connection, maintaining this connection to the community for individuals who may be detained in the Oklahoma County Detention Center is extremely important. Extremely important. While they're separated, when they come back, for their families, the whole 9 yards. And we've talked about this before, but there are some really incredible people in our community who are interested in working with Director Gardner and her staff to make sure that we do what we can to foster and promote that connection. And Mr. Chair, I would like for the trust to know that on May 4th, the weekend ahead of Mother's Day weekend, we will be distributing care packages to everyone who is residing in the Oklahoma County Detention Center. Care packages are pretty simple, but a pretty good way to say, hey, we haven't forgot about you. We're thinking of you. You're still a part of our community. So we'll have some details forthcoming in email and what have you, but just want you to know that that distribution date is scheduled for May the 4th. On Saturday, probably Saturday afternoon. Also in the process of talking to Director Gardner and Mac Mullings about creating a support group for veterans who reside in the Oklahoma County Detention Center. And the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs will be a part of that with their veteran service representatives to make sure that people are connected with appropriate benefits. We talked last time about a couple of events that were coming up, and I do want to report that Director Gardner and her staff followed through in the NABJCT event that was directed by Langston University and Reggie Hines, the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice, Langston University. This event took place at Metro Tech. The Oklahoma County Detention Center was there to promote all the job opportunities for graduating students from Langston, and I'm told it went extremely well. There's another event coming up, a recruitment event with Donna Thompson, and it's the Oklahoma Baptist State Prison Fellowship Workshop, and that is set to take place on April the 27th. Another opportunity, great opportunity to recruit and to get the message out that there's some pretty fantastic employment opportunities within the Oklahoma Detention Center. So we're excited to be able to communicate and make sure that those connections are made to our staff. And Mr. Chair, if I could, I would like to approach the dais just to give a hard copy of a report of the focus groups that took place recently.
Sure. We may have to shake you down first, though. But.
I want to say, as this report is coming around, this input is coming around, I want to say, first of all, thank you to Director Gardner for the transparency. This is about as authentic as it gets. Once a month, we're allowed to go into the Oklahoma County Detention Center with a small representative, and we rotate around of the Citizens Advisory Board to have direct conversations with the men and women who reside in the detention center to get their perspective. Again, I just want to say connecting and maintaining, protecting the connection to the community is very, very important. We also believe that those closest to the situation can give us the most accurate account of what they're seeing, what they're experiencing. So I want to say thank you for the courage and for the transparency of Director Gardner and her staff. A couple of months ago, Trust Member Buck had recommended that some of our trust members join us in these focus groups. That happened for the first time on May the 28th. James Johnson joined myself and Leslie Nesmith for these focus groups. And Mr. Johnson, I've been saying this behind your back, so I might as well say it to your face and publicly. In my estimation, you may be the most sincere, legitimate, authentic person I've ever seen in this setting. I am so impressed by your authenticity, by your attention to humanity and dignity, and just the way that you treat people. The connection, the instant connection and validation that you provided in that setting was beyond amazing. I think it was transformational. I want to say thank you for who you are, for giving your time, and for making that a priority to participate with us.
I appreciate it. I still have to get my head out the door. So.
Just incredible. Well, I'm telling everybody, so you're hopefully you're going to hear this. Every now and again, we get in these focus groups and there's a theme that kind of we don't expect. And I'm just going to tell you, this is what we heard verbatim. So the theme, I think this go around was breakfast. What we heard are that the breakfast options aren't great. We heard that with some level of passion behind that. They said the quality of the food is not ideal, but they did tell us that overall the food service is getting better. This is coming from the women. So we met with a group of females first and then from the males. So the overall consensus is that food service is getting better. It's certainly better than in past years. The women that we visited with did have access to a microwave in their pod, and they said that they were able to heat up some food from commissary and some different things, and they really appreciated that. They did tell us, however, that the options in the commissary, in their estimation, were somewhat limited, and mainly they just had access to beans and or noodles to supplement their nutritional diet, their needs. The women reported that bed bugs are still an issue. They reported that blankets and sometimes bedding are not readily available. One individual experienced a delay in receiving a blanket. They said that they would appreciate greater access to clean undergarments on a more frequent basis. The women reported, they did tell us that they are getting out of their cell on a pretty regular basis. And they're out of their cell for about 3 hours a day, every day, Monday through Friday, which is a tremendous improvement from where we started. They do not get out of their cells on the weekends. There's just not adequate staff, but they said that they're getting out on a pretty regular basis throughout the week for about 3 hours each day. The women reported more access to electronic tablets and an increased variety that is available on their tablets. They said they really appreciated being able to have the additional forms of entertainment and movies from time to time. And they said that that's a big blessing, is I think the word that they used. They stated the conditions of their pod was cleaner and better than in times past. The women said, however, that access to medical services were deficient. The response time for receiving health care and the quality of health services could be improved. They stated that access to phone calls to loved ones are available, but really only if you have money and the resources to make those calls. They were pretty clear in saying that if a person is indigent, the ability to communicate with family members is pretty limited. The women stated that their showers really needed a deep cleaning and needed to be cleaned more thoroughly. One person stated a lack of justice or proper response when a person who resides at the Oklahoma County Detention Center is harmed by another resident. They said it's not always violent or physical. And this particular individual cited an incident in which a person stole her PIN number and was able to gain access to the money that she had on her account. That she said that the person deleted her resources and there was no action taken in her estimation. They also expressed some frustration and confusion over the mail system and the process for sending and receiving mail. The women, we always end our conversations by asking, okay, what is the one thing that you would improve, and then what is the best thing that's happening right now in the facility? And they said that the one thing that they would improve is breakfast and breakfast options. And then the women stated, as far as what's working well, they said generally it's the interactions with the staff. They said the staff are much more kind, nice in their interactions, and that the staff are performing safety and routine checks on a more frequent and proper basis, according to their estimation. Very quickly, the men reported to us that there's still a pretty significant problem with the bed bugs infestation. They stated that they are also getting out of their cells 2 to 3 hours, that should be hours a day, Monday through Friday, but there's no restroom facilities available while they're on the floor of the pod unless staff is physically on the floor of the pod. And they said when they're out for 3 hours a day, which they really appreciate, they don't always have access to toilets and restroom kinds of facilities. And they said from time to time they have to revert to using the shower as a restroom, which is what none of them want to do. But they said when staff are available and they're there, then they can open up a cell and they can have access to the restrooms. But otherwise, they just don't. The men reported that the food options are heavy in carbohydrates and that the breakfast servings aren't great. The options aren't great. They reported not having access to chaplain services, spiritual support, or the level of programming that they would like. They indicated an interest and a desire for programming that focused on reentry services, employment assistance, and connections to and awareness of available social services within the community. They stated that interaction with the staff is both good and bad depending on the individual staff member, but they went out of their way to affirm the staff member, Staff Sergeant Cummings. She is the unit manager, as I understand it, for the 13th floor, and the men stated that Sergeant Cummings treats them with dignity, respect, and is a positive influence in their life. They really had really good things to say about Sergeant Cummings. The men also communicated that their showers needed to be deeply cleaned as well. They stated that communication with their family members can be difficult, especially if a person is indigent. They expressed appreciation for increased access to electronic tablets, but indicated a need for the tablets to be charged on a more frequent basis. They also stated that the older population had trouble understanding and utilizing the technology that is available on the tablets. They said that they would like to have greater access to books and reading material. The men shared that medical services and access to healthcare needs can and should be improved. One man reported experiencing or placing rather a medical call. He didn't receive the response in the time that he thought that he should have received it. So he called his family at the next available opportunity for help. And it was only after his family was contacted that the facility responded to his medical needs according to his account. And then finally, and I'll end on this note, it was reported to us that the staff is planning an afternoon with some recreational activities that might include a cornhole tournament and a gigantic game of Connect Four. And I will just tell you that both the staff and the individuals that we talked to that day were equally excited and optimistic about that particular interaction. They were all looking forward to it. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I would just tell you that we are keeping track of every focus group that we do and the information that we receive from all the focus groups, as well as the input that we receive from the general public and the community. We are looking for general themes, and it is our goal, it is our intention to bring forward a list of recommendations based on the common themes that we have tracked over really the last 18 months or so. Again, I want to say thank you to Mr. Johnson for taking the time to participate in our focus groups. I will tell you that we're going to have these focus groups every month, and my hope and my goal is that we can rotate Pastor Scobie, Vice Chairman Buck, Mr. Chair, that we can rotate, and if you would like the opportunity to come and participate with our Citizens Advisory Board and getting this input, we would be most grateful to have any of you participate in that rotation. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Skill or any comments? Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Item 10, our next announcement of our next meeting, which is going to be on Monday, May 13th, and I'm sure that there will not be an eclipse that day, so we ought to have more attendance, I hope. Any comments by the trustees before we entertain a motion to move into executive session? Okay, seeing none, I will take a motion to enter executive session for item number 11, 12, and 13, and then we'll return and take whatever action is decided.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Mrs. Campisi, call the roll. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, we're adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please, Mrs. Kambezi, call the roll to reconvene. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. We are convened. There was a comment made by myself earlier when we had a discussion about, I don't remember, but I said in jest that if we got a jail, we all are hopeful that we're going to get a new jail. Action just happens to be somewhere else. So I apologize for the misunderstanding. Item number 14.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to proceed as discussed.
Is there a second to proceed as discussed? Thank you. Mrs. Kambezi, call the roll. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Number 15.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to make another motion on item 14, if you will, and that's to approve the expenditure of $6,000 for depositions.
That is correct. I apologize for moving too quickly.
Second.
There is a second and a motion. Mrs. Kambezi, call the roll. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. With the commissioner's approval, I'd like to move to item 15, where there is no action required.
Objection.
In jest, I know. We will take no action on 15. Move to 16. I'll entertain a motion regarding
Yes, sir.
this.
I'd like to make a motion to ratify the letter sent previously by staff on notification of ending or discussing contract.
Ratification.
Yep.
Is there a second? Thank you. Mrs. Kambezi, please call the roll. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And that concludes our agenda today. Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you. And seconded. Mrs. Kambezi, call the roll, please. Mr. Johnson. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank everyone for attending, and we are adjourned.